Runekeeper! Runekeeper!
What is it, little one?
You never finished the story. What about Atreus?
Ah, yes. Pantheon. Well, you see, Atreus was born to the Rekoran tribes, yet another warrior that would embrace the beliefs of the sun. Named after one of the 4 stars making up the constellation known to the Rekoran as Pantheon. He was not the fastest or the strongest of the Rekoran warriors, but he outshined his peers through his pure determination and displays of almost godlike endurance. He was the first to rise and the last to leave the training ground at night's end. You see, Atreus had a fierce rivalry with another young Rekoran called Pylus. Pylus was born into a line of great warriors, and was Atreus' better in every way. Yet no matter how many times Pylus would beat him, Atreus would use what little strength he had to rise and face him again, even bloodied and bruised. This earned Atreus the respect of his instructors, but also made Pylus angry with him. Who was Atreus to defy him? He lacked respect. Atreus was shunned by Pylus and his followers. Suffering numerous beatings, he dared not tell his parents, however. He instead endured it with stoic resilience to keep from causing his family pain. On an early morning winter patrol, a day's march from their village, the young warriors and their trainers came upon the smoking ruin of a Rekoran outpost. Blood stained the snow red, and bodies laid scattered across the ground. A hasty retreat was ordered, but before their feet could move, the enemy was already upon them. Springing forth from beneath the blood-riddled snow, warriors clad in furs and heavy iron armor, hefting heavy axes, swords and bows in their hands. These warriors were clearly from foreign lands. None of the young warriors had completed their training, and their superiors were all greybeards, well past their prime. Even so, for every Rekoran life claimed, 2 enemies fell. Still outnumbered, the fight dragged on till only Atreus and Pylus remained. Fighting back to back, the 2 endured. Covered in blood and injuries, they went on, Atreus reaching forward with a spear and claiming the life of one of the barbarians, followed by Pylus catching 2 more across the throat with a spin of his own. This created a gap in the circle of enemies. Atreus told Pylus to run and warn the village. He would hold off the enemies to give him time to escape, and before Pylus had time to argue, Atreus lunged forward into the group of enemies, giving him the time he needed. Pylus ran.
Honor compels me.
Atreus fought hard, taking 2 more men with him, till finally an axe found itself slammed into his chest, and he slipped into unconsciousness. He awoke not in the afterlife he expected, but on the mountainside where he had fallen. To his surprise, he found Pylus here as well, with a throwing axe in his back, but still drawing breath. Atreus heaved him over his shoulder, and marched for 3 days, till reaching the edge of their village, before finally collapsing. When he awoke next, he found it was Pylus who was treating his wounds, and soon the 2 of them became close friends. Finishing their training together, the 2 sought even greater strength. Like all young Rekorans, the 2 had grown up hearing tales of heroes climbing to the peak of Mount Targon, and being blessed with great power. Only 1 in 1,000 ever glimpsed the top, but it would not stop Atreus or Pylus. The 2 joined a large group who were headed for the top, and it was not long before only the 2 of them remained.
I know my path.
It had been weeks of climbing, yet the friends endured, the air growing thinner and thinner as they pressed on. Exhausted and frozen, the pair made their ascent to the summit, only to find nothing. No fabled city, no gods to greet them, just nothing. Pylus collapsed, the last of his strength finally giving way, and Atreus roared in frustration. Knowing Pylus had not the strength to make the descent, Atreus sat with him, cradling his head in his lap as he watched the life slowly drain away from him. Months passed. On the lower flanks of the mountain, it was assumed Atreus and Pylus had perished. However, at this time another raiding party from the northern barbarians appeared on the mountain. Pushing toward a Solari shrine high upon the mountain, heavily outnumbered, the guards stood ready to die in defense of the temple. As the enemy moved in, a strong wind blew in, whipping up flurries of snow and clearing the clouds from the sky. In the night sky stood Mount Targon in its full glory, and next to it, the 4 stars of the Pantheon constellation pulsed brightly and then vanished from the sky. The light of a falling star peered overhead and streaked towards the ground. It screamed towards the temple, the streaming light slamming down and striking the ground between the 2 opposing forces. This was no star, but a warrior mantled in starlight, bearing a golden shield and the spear of legend. The Recorans recognized him immediately. It was Atreus. He rose from a crouch, eyes blazing with celestial light, and the enemy knew death had come for them. The battle was over in an instant, and his enemies defeated, Pantheon marched into the roaring ice storm and disappeared.
They will know war.